Hello, my name is Anum Tayyab, and I will be introducing our proposal on violent recidivism. The nation's current criminal justice system is a vicious cycle of ineffective punishment and constant rejection. The United States of America contains the highest population of incarcerated individuals globally, meaning that the costs of maintaining facilities are astronomical. The Bureau of Justice Statistics reported that the corrective and community maintenance budget is around $74 billion US. In addition, 95% of offenders in America will be released within their lifetime, meaning that the criminal justice system holds a great deal of responsibility for adequately preparing prisoners for re-entry into society. However, a comprehensive study conducted in 2005 by the U.S. Department of Justice reported that over two-thirds, or 67% of prisoners, were re-arrested within 3 years of their release, and over three-fourths, or 76.6% of prisoners, were re-arrested within 5 years of their release. Not only does this reflect the nation's inability to initiate successful correctional programs that result in desistance, but it also reveals how, despite having the funds to move forward, prisoners prioritize primitive punishment over effective treatment. Violent recidivism is particularly relevant amongst prisoners. 63.8% of all violent offenders recidivate by being arrested for a new crime or violation of probation conditions, compared to 39.8% of nonviolent offenders who were re-arrested during the follow-up period. These statistics translate how desperately violent offenders require reform. It is crucial to examine desistance and what specific programs achieve a permanent state of non-offending to understand recidivism. The reason why the typical three-step course of action plan for arrest, incapacitation, specific deterrence, and rehabilitation isn't as successful anymore is because it lacks the foundation of education and encouragement, two things that are crucial in achieving desistance. Instead, the nation's current criminal justice system is rooted in punishment. It solely focuses on deterring people from crime rather than motivating them for opportunities they could be presented with upon re-entry into society. However, the three-step process could be successful when it makes efforts towards implementing education. Desistance will only be achieved when freedom is viewed as attainable, when second chances are an option, and when prisoners aren't thwarted by constant rejection and lack of knowledge in navigating the world. The temptation to recommit crime for offenders is often instinctive for survival. Since options aren't presented to them to build a new life while incarcerated, they turn to extreme measures to meet basic human needs. If prisoners are released after being dedicated to change, they deserve to have equal opportunity for stable housing and employment with the help of strong community support. America's criminal justice system must reap the benefits of such a large budget and maximize the value of our investment towards institutionalization. By allocating costs towards school districts and federal prisons and prioritize specialized mental health programs, prisoners will be equipped with the necessary skills to function in society without fearing rearrest.
Hello, I'm Jaime Ortegon. It is well known that many violent offenders will return to prison for committing more crimes after they are released. This is called recidivism, and it keeps offenders of every crime trapped in a revolving door of being in and out of jail. As a group, we have decided that the best way to reduce recidivism and save these offenders from the revolving door is to reform how violent offenders re-enter society. We propose to increase focus on providing proper education to the inmates to help them learn the skills required to be successful outside of prison and develop standardized programs to reduce recidivism by focusing on mental health and expanding current programs that have helped reduce recidivism. These people need the reforms we have proposed so that they may turn the corner and live a successful and fulfilling life that we all wish for.
So, who's in charge of the reform? The Bureau of Prisons. Who will pay for the reform? The Bureau of Prisons will pay for it, and citizens will also pay for it. How will the fix work? We plan on increasing access to educational programs. And the educational programs may be just them learning about different options that they may have after they are out of prison. Reentry programs. Reentry programs are things that slowly introduce them from the prison life into the normal life that, we all have. It's like in a way that will help them. This stuff for the jurisdiction. Those who attend the school districts are 43% more likely not to return than those who don't. School districts can teach the offenders about opportunities in the community that are offered to them that can assist them in re-entering society with a positive influence. They aim to crack down and change the offender's mindset from the first day of incarceration. Programs for drug violence and history of substance abuse could help with the recidivism rates of those who may deal with drug abuse and its history, such as drug abuse in the family history or in a neighborhood where drug violence is great. In every program, there should be Spanish teachers and Spanish to accommodate Hispanics whose first language is Spanish, because in a lot of the research we were doing, the, the Hispanics and Blacks were more likely to go back into the prison within the next 5 years over their white counterparts. And that's because a lot of them may not understand the language, and you may not understand what you're doing around you, and then it puts you at a bigger disadvantage. So, providing programs that are helpful to them in their language is also really good. Educational facilities offer inmates an education or a second chance at an education to benefit themselves when they are released from prison. The facilities offer inmates opportunities while they are in prison to line them up for opportunities in the future. Those released from prison usually end up within 5 years of being released for a new crime or violating supervision such as parole. And those helping will be taxpayers, which will be regulated on a state level, which is how I said,
To add to the justification, we have two charts that show why violent offenders are in desperate need of these reforms. The chart on the left shows the median time before first recidivism. As you can see, violent offenders take less time to commit another crime, which shows why violent offenders need these reforms. It shows that violent offenders are more likely to commit crimes faster. Therefore, they need these reforms. The chart on the right shows the recidivism rates for both violent and non-violent offenders. For violent offenders, the recidivism rate is just over 60%, while for non-violent offenders, it's only 40%, which means violent offenders are much more likely to commit another crime after they're released than any other offender. This goes to show why violent offenders are in great need of these reforms to help them return to society.
Hello, my name is Jessica Bartelle, and I'm a rising sophomore at UTSA, and I will be discussing the alternatives and explaining why violent criminals should stay in jail, and also why reform programs do not equip prisoners with the proper skills needed to re-enter society. Murder is one of the worst crimes that could ever be committed because it takes away the value of human life and it also undermines it as well. One role of the government is to protect citizens by creating laws that make Americans feel safe in their own homes and in communities. If government helps convicted felons get out of jail or serve smaller sentences than they're supposed to, that is not keeping society safe, but it's keeping society rather in a standstill and in a dangerous place. Convicted felons need to serve more time to ensure the safety of society. If they stay in jail, there is no chance for them to harm anyone else unless they figure out a way to escape, which the chances of that are very slim to none. The convicted felon has no chance to seek revenge on any of the victims' families who put him in court. And if the felon is released, the family of the victim will most likely live in fear of the felon. Secondly, reform programs do not equip prisoners with the skills needed to re-enter society. The negative cognition that prisoners have makes it hard for them to find jobs when they get released, making reform programs nearly useless because programs can't change a negative cognition or persona. The fact that he or she went to jail will be on the record, and really any job would want to hire an ex-convict. This makes it hard for convicted felons to be normal citizens and get a house and do things that normal people would do if they were never convicted of a crime. As well as having a negative cognition, many ex-convicts have a history of substance abuse, causing them to have mental or physical ailments, or sometimes both, making it challenging for them to be able to function like normal people would. Also, reform programs fail to work as well because ex-convicts are usually around the same environment that put them in jail once they are released, making it easier for them to go back to their old habits. Overall, criminals threaten our lives and they make us feel less secure in our own homes. According to Simmons University, there are so many deep-rooted obstacles in the way for convicts to be able to flourish, causing them to be in a never-ending cycle of getting out of jail and committing more crimes because they weren't able to sustain a normal lifestyle and then ending back up in the prison system.
Overall, reforms are just as much of a strong community effort as they are a nation's responsibility. Communities must be proactive in accommodating former prisoners and supportive of people seeking second chances. People hold power to change lives by simply facilitating education, and prisoners can benefit incredibly from it. The criminal justice system must redirect its focus from punishment to treatment and allocate its budget for reform proficiently to enable incarcerated individuals to become productive, valuable members of society. Community corrections agencies must adopt a goal of helping probationers capitalize on their desistance motivations, such as wanting to have a fulfilling life purpose and value. Correctional agencies should not be overly confident in their abilities to identify probationers' core beliefs driving desistance, and should know how to enhance beliefs towards nonviolence. Prisons must identify pro-criminal attitudes and poor impulse control as key predictors of criminal behavior and take the proper steps in eliminating those mindsets through appropriate educational treatment.